inaugural dialogue meeting, and we're delighted to have you all here. I know my colleague Sheikh Ramsey would like to introduce Mrs. Abrahamson as we get going this evening.
Excellent. I start with, of course, we much many brothers and sisters, of course, they are coming later, or they have, because of the freshers and the situation of the university that's starting. Hopefully they come later, or if they didn't come, still they are with us in spirit. I greet you all with the Islamic greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May peace and blessing of Almighty God be upon you all. And thank you for coming, of course, and I would like to thank Kate, who is the head of the chaplaincy for here, which allow us to use. Of course, we are colleagues together, working, Kanja and everybody. We are very close with Rabbi, as a very close, like a family. We are together, and we care for the whole 10,000 or more the student which we have.
18.
That's
18,
right. Yes.
18,000.
Yes. How many?
Yeah, 18,000.
18,000. Hey, look at that. I was 10,000 or more than 18,000 and maybe more counting. I'm sure they're coming. However, we have an honorable guest, our sister Rebecca Abrahamson, which I am very, very kind of friend with her husband. We have been to several countries with her husband, United Nations, Germany's. We go to America. I think we were in America together with the United Nations as well. Turkey and many places we go, and of course through that I acquainted with of course our sister Rebecca. And Sister Rebecca, mashallah, they are from Siddiqun organization, which are very pure and very special, from the Levite families. Levite family was all priests, and long time ago, all priests and the prophets come from the Levite. Of course, she's here. She was in Dublin and one of the universities, and I invite her to UK as well, to Oxford, to come and talk for us, and perhaps we know more about Jewish tradition, which is very, very close with the tradition of Islamic tradition. And of course, perhaps we talk anything she wants to say, and there is a question time. They come and you question me, and of course I put it to sister. If she want to answer, she will answer. If she didn't, we just leave it as that, because some question perhaps may not need to answer in this situation. We don't want to feel our guests feel uncomfortable. Say, many things happening. Therefore, God bless you. Thank you very much, and please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really thank Sheikh Ramsey from the bottom of my heart for hosting me. Thank you for hosting my husband, and it's giving me a platform also for a little bit of my activism that I've come into. Thank you, Sister Iman and Sally, for accompanying me as Sheikh Ramsey took me around. Of course, it's not really correct for me to just go around touring with a man alone, so the sisters were my chaperones, so thank you so much. And we got a chance to talk and refine and just to, get into dynamic discussion, which is all part of the process of conciliation and finding out, the message that, how to sort of, what to emphasize. And of course, you'll be part of it, and that'll change things too. I'm coming through having been a guest speaker at Trinity College by the Irish School of Ecumenics. They had a symposium on sacred values and working out peaceful solutions using religion. I was invited, 2 other Orthodox Jews from the Holy Land, 2 Muslims, and a Christian from the Holy Land. And we spoke about how religious values can be used in conciliation. It was interesting that myself and the Muslims were in a lot of agreement, and the people in the audience that were more from, unused to the ideas I presented, you know, they were more impressed with the fact that I was on the same wavelength as the religious Muslims than perhaps exactly the way I phrased everything. They had a lot of questions, were a bit, I was stirred up by what I said, but I think it was the friendship and the brotherhood with the Muslims that sort of showed that we really do have the tools to make peace. As Rabbi Menachem Froman said, he was a rabbi in Israel, he said, as religion is part of the problem, it has to be part of the solution. Okay? We have to get to the core of religious values in order to find solution. We can't ignore that. In Camp David the Accords were done in 1978, 79, Oslo, 95. Okay. In terms of religion as part of peacemaking, at that time, did any diplomats go up to the residents of the Middle East, the midrasas, the yeshivot, the seminaries, and say, give me your top 1% of your students and instructors? Okay? Did they? They did not. They didn't. Religion, which is the soul of the people of the Middle East, for better or for worse, religion, theocracy, and history is the soul of the people that live in the Middle East. And they weren't invited in these peace processes. It wasn't even a thought. A very famous diplomat, and a very important one, said something off the record to my husband, Ben Abrahamson. Okay? I'll explain how I got into this. I've gotten ahead of myself a little bit. I should give you some background about who I am, but just a minute. Okay. He said off the cuff, I won't say his name, because he said it off the record 4 years ago to my husband, Ben, when they were on a trip to Turkey together. He said, if I had known the role that religion could play in peacemaking, I would have included their leaders a long time ago. And if you knew who said it, you'd be shocked. Okay, it's not too late. Let me back up a little bit. Why am I here? Why am I here? Okay. My husband, Rabbi Ben Abrahamson, survived a terror attack in the Holy Land 15 years ago. He was physically unscathed, but deeply moved. He wanted to understand how anybody in so-called the name of Islam could commit terror. And he's human, he was angry, but instead of saying, okay, I'd like to shoot back, he recognized that that's a base instinct, lifted up and said, I want to learn about them. I'm going to learn about the other. He started reading the Quran, the Hadith, teaching himself Arabic. Now, we're working people. You know, he was stealing time in the middle of the night, late at night, but this was starting to, when a person makes a change like this and challenges their basic assumptions, it takes energy, and somehow they get more energy, and it was very all-consuming for him. He found such remarkable commonalities between Judaism and Islam that he couldn't just say, well, we both fast, we both pray, isn't that nice? He found deep roots of Islam together with Judaism, dating all the way back to Noah, to the extent that he even started saying, you know, in some ways, Islam is the religion of Noah. In some ways, you can interpret Islam as it didn't start 1,400 years ago. And when you find the deep roots of Islam, it stabilizes it. It's less manipulatable, okay? It's not something that, you know, Judaism was over there, Christianity over there, and Islam was over there. We see the three religions as a continuum.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing a continuum, you are forced to make peace. When you see them as your blood cousins, theologically, never mind physically. You know, the Abrahamic religions are not racist. None of them are. When it forces you to get out of your shell, to jump over the fence, and to start making bridges. Ben started sharing on Facebook discussions, you know, insights about Islam. Now, I do want to just say something. He was going through a change. And just, you should all know, when a person undergoes a personal change, it takes energy and affects the relationships with their loved ones. I had to be very patient. There was one, and we experienced this 2 days ago. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, he read the Quran, he found all these nice things, and da da da. It was hard. It's hard to question the basic assumptions that we were brought up with, because they're kind of part of us. And what are we if what my mom said, don't worry, Palestinian refugee camps are just kind of run down towns. That's all. Don't worry about them, Becky. And you find out how bad they are in the Holy Land, and it hurts. Okay? When you find things that I didn't know this, and if I had known this, things would have been so much better between us. It takes energy. In Ireland 2 days ago, by the end, a lot of us were just in tears, because there's so much, that we thought about each other, and the kind of people that gather at interfaith meetings already have liberal tendencies, but we weren't always liberal. A lot of us got up and admitted that we were really very set in our ways before then. A Protestant admitted that, an Orthodox Jew, and we've come to this, and it takes energy, and you go through something. So just be warned that any time you question sort of the basic things you were brought up with, or the basic things you think, and you have kind of an emotional reaction like it's hard, that's a form of change and birth, and it's healthy, but it's uncomfortable. Okay, so let's get back to the subject. You're going to have to direct me, Sheikh Ramsey, because I could talk for hours.
No.
He started this Facebook discussion, and it just blossomed. People would say, hey, I met this Jewish rabbi. Sign up. No, they're all the same. Don't trust them. No, really, he's a nice Jewish rabbi. Look at the things he says about the Quran. It blossomed and blossomed. Ben got invited to speak at the UN, at UNESCO, at the Houses of Parliament, and he's not the type, but he really just wanted to think a thought. He wants a desk and a computer and books. That's really it.
That's right.
He was invited out, breaking the shell, breaking his sort of boundaries, speaking, and why? To show the deep symbiosis between Islam and Judaism, to inspire peacemaking. You've got to do it. We're not foreign to each other. Okay. My role is that I was busy with the little kids, and at the time he was distracted, and once I said, you don't talk about anything but Islam lately, But I had to be patient because I saw that it was working. He was making peace between people. So I let go, and when you let go of things, they get better. The kids got a little bigger. I had some time to take a cross-section of the Facebook discussions and put this in this book, which I self-published. It was accepted by a publisher, but it had strings attached. I wanted my freedom. This is a self-published book, which is a cross-section of the discussions. It's historical and theological, and at the end gets political. I also, once you start bringing this out, and I couldn't stand the way Islam, terror. Muslims, terror in the media. Of course you're feeding into it. And as a Haredi Jew, my community is always slandered in the media. You've got one crazy person who I know is on drugs or something, throws a rock because it's Sabbath and someone drives a car. That's all the Haredim. So we suffer from bad press, and that's probably why I could sympathize. If they go, we're next. There's no such thing as hate speech against just one group, and I have nothing to do with them. If they go, we're next. And I think that's part of the Jewish narrative. Okay, that's sort of the way we're raised. And as a Jew, we're raised with stories about the Holocaust. My family escaped the pogroms, and the non-Jews that helped us along the way, who recognized they had to help Jews because it's the right thing to do, but also because if they go, we're next. I started a column called Giving Voice to Muslims Who Seek Peace. I wanted to break down the Islamophobia in the media. They're very long-winded articles because I also put in information about Islam, quotes, the concept of ijtihad, of freedom of intellectual expression, quotes from the Quran that support the children of Israel, Christians, and Sabaeans, another group of monotheists who a fourth group that the Quran is tolerant of and accepting of. And I thought I'd write a few articles. It's snowballing. I have more information, more material than I can deal with, and I already have one person who contributed to this niche. This is in a Jewish Orthodox site, internet news site called Arutz Sheva, and I had a connection who got me printed there. There was first incredible animosity why are you printing her stuff? This is an Orthodox nationalist website. I'm not a nationalist. I'm Haredi. I'm ultra-Orthodox. The picture of me was obviously, since the way I look, they have a rule. I didn't really want my picture up, but my Rebbe said it's okay to have it up. I don't really, you have to be careful about, showing pictures of women. That's where we're coming from in my community. He said it's allowed, so I have my blessing of my rabbi. But they could tell the way I look, I'm Haredi. The modern ladies show more hair and they just don't look like this. So it's a rule they have to show the picture. There was a lot of hostility, a lot of blaming me that I'm anti, like I'm so Haredi, like, throw rocks and stuff like that. But they just kept at it. And they said to me they will continue publishing articles in this niche. I have one person who joined. In Ireland, I said, who wants to join? I've got 2 volunteers. Anybody here who would like to join? Anybody you know who wants to write? I get no money for this. There's no money, okay? I don't. It's charity. It's something you have to do. If anyone likes to write, would like to write an op-ed, giving voice to Muslims who seek peace, you profile a person, you profile their activities. I haven't written about you, Sheikh, yet. I haven't, I'm just too busy now. Please, anyone you know, please join. My articles led to more activism. The first person I wrote about was Omer Salam. I hope you familiarize yourself with his work. He wrote The Missing Piece, and he's really gone out on a limb. He's Egyptian, and he has been pushing the original Quranic idea of acceptance of Alei al-Kitab, of people of the book, of accepting me as a rabbinic Jew who keeps Yom Kippur, kosher, believes in the Talmud and the holiness of the Talmud, accepting us as mu'min. There's one level, there's Alei al-Kitab, which is people of the book, but there's another level up, that's mu'min. Mu'min is like amin, it's
believer,
faith,
good believer.
Good believer. But there's a legalistic sense to that. It doesn't just mean I'm religious, because Islam and Judaism both have living and breathing ways of accepting the minimally observant, even the non-religious. So there's a legalistic term to this. Trustworthy.
Yes.
It's not only accepting believers and religious peoples, it's evaluating someone as saying they are trustworthy. Okay? That is a legalistic concept in the Sharia of Islam, that our dream is the next step to take religious Sharia, take fuqaha and hachamim, rabbis, have them sit together and convene on a joint court. Did I tell you this in the car? I don't think I did. I didn't get to that. We were talking about so many other things. We want to. Did you hear this?
No.
Okay.
No, it's nice.
It's nice to know.
Our dream is the joint Sharia and halacha Jewish-Muslim courts that will convene on concepts that are common to our peoples. And why is that so important? It's the ultimate validation of the other. We're erasing the other's existence. I was taught, don't worry about the Palestinian refugees. They're just like in towns. Okay, erasing their experience. As someone sat down with me and honestly said, Rebecca, you're not going to be popular because you're a non-entity. As a Jew, you're a non-entity, okay? We've got to stop ignoring the other side, pretending they'll all convert, pretending they'll all go away. They'll pack up their bags and move over the Jordan. No, we're here to stay. We're cousins, and we're meant to work in synchronicity. We have different roles, different Sharia. Qatada, who's a Sahaba, you tell me when I should take a breath.
Anytime you want. I tell you, we put a few minutes. I think it's a few. If you get a few more minutes.
All right, I'll tell you the.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
All right, I'll tell you.
Anytime you want. I don't want to. Anytime you want to stop,
Okay.
say, get the question, and I'll be okay.
So maybe I'll talk about. I wish I could inspire you with. I wish I could get you to the point where you are awed by our commonalities. That's in the book. I could maybe give you one example. What time of year do you think that the first Ramadan was observed? We know that the months move backwards through the year, the Islamic months. And why? Because of the sanctity of time. Because Muhammad ﷺ recognized the sanctity of time. And there were kings, there were chieftains in the Arabian Peninsula that would manipulate the calendar in order to time their wars when it was good for them. There are 4 months in the Islamic year they're not allowed to go to war. Okay?
That's right.
So he said, enough, no manipulating. That's why it's not solar. And the Jewish people adapted to the solar calendar, but we both have that sanctity of time. Which part of the year was the very first Ramadan? My husband did the math. What part of the year? Winter, summer, fall, spring? What part? Okay? It was spring, right after our Passover holiday. After Passover, in the times of the temple, the Jewish people were prohibited to eat grains on the self-same day until they brought the Omer offering on the self-same day. For some Jews, that amounted to a day-long fast. Many of them were Sadducean Jews, who fasted, I should say. There were our time of Sfirat to Omer, the counting of the Omer. There are 49 days between Passover and the holiday of Shavuot. 33 of them are observed as days of mourning. Different communities, Sephardim, Ashkenazim, we do slightly different days, Hasidim, but it's 33 days of mourning for incidents that happened at the time of the falling of the temple. And some fasted. The very first Ramadan was after Passover. It's linked. Ramadan is not a long Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is not a mini Ramadan. They're connected to the temple offering. That kind of thing inspired my husband. So to see the roots and to do this conciliation work. Now, diversity in Islam. Qatada, you told me how to pronounce it. No, you did. I'm sorry. Qatada. I was
very Arabic, you know.
Qatada. Sahaba. Sahaba were the companions of Muhammad. He said,
Abu Qatada.
Abu Qatada? Okay.
Abu Qatada.
Okay. Deen wahad, Sharia mukhtalifa. Deen. What's deen? In Jewish parlance, that's the 7 laws of Noah. There are 7 basic laws considered to have been given to Noah. This is learned out of the Genesis. And if any religion keeps these 7 laws, it's considered an acceptable religion. Anyone who keeps that and says, this is our dream for courts, says before a court, I keep the 7 laws as handed down through Noah, they are a righteous Gentile and in the land of Israel, a ger toshav with full civil rights. This has political ramifications. In Islam, it's deen. So the 7 laws of Noah are the same as deen. So just like with us, 7 laws of Noah can be Christianity, can be Islam. They're keeping the 7 laws. They're both kosher religions, acceptable religions. In Islam, it's al-din wahid. It's the deen. If you're keeping the basic tenets of Islam, believing in Allah, in the last day, well, if you believe in the last day, in the day of judgment, you must be keeping a path, a Sharia, a set of laws to guide you in your life, or else how are you going to be judged? So it implies a Sharia and does good deeds. And somebody added, somebody corrected me, that's not just 3 things. Believes in the prophets, I think. Anyway, they are acceptable. You don't have, what I'm boldly saying to my Muslim cousins is that there are more and more Muslims trying to get back to the concept, the Quranic and I believe Mohammedan concept, that those things are salvation. Those basic tenets, it's not that everybody, just like everybody doesn't have to convert to Judaism, everyone doesn't have to convert to Islam. They can be, as it says in the Quran, a Jew, a Christian, or a Sabian. Muhammad himself, and they have to be righteous, things are expected. That's the different Sharia. I keep the Sharia of Musa. Okay? Moses. Right. A Christian keeps the Sharia of Isa. And the Muslim keeps the Sharia of Muhammad. So these semantic differences kind of melt away. We're all Muslims. I'm a Musawi Muslim. I keep the Sharia of Moses. There's the Isa Muslim, there's the Mohammedan Muslim, and the Sabian Muslim. It's all a matter of semantics, of challenging semantics and the divisions that we have been brainwashed with. Okay. You should probably wonder, with all this good stuff, what went wrong. I can talk about what went wrong and some concepts on how to fix it.
While you're catching your breath, I tell you one of the stories that we'll remember from start.
Sure, I'm fine.
Yes, when I invited several organizations to university to speak about 3 or 4 years ago, and of course her husband, his honorable man, the rabbi, was there as well. I invited the people to speak, and he was a rabbi, and he was just coming with them. And he said, Dr. Ramsey, can you give me the 3 minutes to speak? I said, these are, I didn't know what the people thinking. For example, we usually say the rabbi coming, that coming, that coming. This was completely different from they coming from the Turkey, and it was a very good organization. I can't remember the name, and Harun Yahya, I think. Mm-hmm. And they came together. And I said, I don't give more than 3 minutes, otherwise everybody telling me, crashing on me, why doing that? 3 minutes gone to 1.5 hours. He was talking and everybody was listening. Until everybody's 9 o'clock, they throw us out. Still everybody is outside listening to that man. He is so much of a knowledge he had. And the people, many, is about 30, 40 people, they were there at that time. Many, they will love to talk to this man because he was telling it right what they want. You know, they find that the similarity of the Jewish and Islam is it's the same. A 5-time praying is the same. Bowing, whatever we're doing is exactly the same. And the people were fascinating. They didn't let him to go until I said, Rabbi, do you want a food or not? We're going to a restaurant. If you don't want food, I'm going to go. But left him the next day. He was talking again as well. This is that kind of person. This her husband, of course, wrote a very good, excellent book. Now, please carry on with it.
Okay. I guess now I've got my breath. I was expressing some similarities about Islam and Judaism that my husband, I'll just give a quick summary. My husband was motivated to learn about Islam about 15 years ago when he survived a terrorist attack physically, and he wanted to understand how could anyone in the name of religion make an attack. We have Sephardic Jewish neighbors, Jews that grew up in Arab lands, and they brag about how great they had it under Islam. So it didn't make sense. He started learning Arabic and reading the Quran and finding such motivating commonalities that he was inspired. He was forced to make bridges of peace. He started a discussion book on his Facebook page. It lost me about 20,000 followers. And the kids got a little bigger, and I made a book, a cross-section of the Facebook discussions, because I didn't know how Facebook worked. I didn't know you couldn't look something up. So I wanted to preserve it. Also, any minute it could be turned off, by the way. That stuff isn't permanent in the internet. So I made a Facebook cross-section of the Facebook discussions. And it has all the similarities in theology, in history, and how some verses of the Quran are right, but they're just in the wrong like people aren't understanding the context. That's all. They're right. It's right. When it says in the Quran that they twisted the verses. Yes. They twisted the verses and they said, we will hear and we will do. I have it right here. Yes. We were talking about in the car. It says in the Quran, the Jews twisted the verses and changed it to we will hear and we will, we will hear and then we will do. But that's the Septuagint. That's not us. That's not the rabbinic Jews. Yes, we consider rabbinic Jews. I'm from the line of Pharisees, from the philosophical line. Pharisees going into rabbinic Jews. We believe in the Talmud. Okay, the Karaites have the same 5 books of Moses, but they don't believe in the Talmud. The Samaritans have a different Bible, and the Sadducees, they don't have a lot of written things left over because they weren't as hierarchical. They didn't really respect hierarchy as much. The Septuagint was written, I think, in 200 BC by force. Jews were forced to write it. They didn't want to translate it. And yes, they changed some of the order of the words. One of them was for a good reason, because if it had been, it says in the Bible, Bereshit bara Elokim, the third word is God.
Elohim.